Today we're going to look at some things. There's a lot of questions usually about does my windmill palm, does my Trachycarpus have some sort of nutrient deficiency or damage or that sort of thing. And so I'm going to tell you how to look for that and some of the things you can look for, and I'll put some of the things on the video. So we're going to look at this small palm here, and so I can show you all the things. The main thing you want to look for in any palm to start with is your spear. You want to make sure your spear is good and healthy and green and doesn't have any spots on it. We'll go down and look at one here in a minute that has a little bit of fungus, but you know, generally if you're in, if you haven't had your palm exposed to a lot of cold or that sort of thing, your spear should be fine. If your spear is starting to look kind of discolored, kind of a pale color, and kind of looks like it's like a fried like color, you can start thinking about treating it with copper fungicide. And you can pull on the spear gently and just take this newest spear and pull up a little gently and see if it pulls out. If it does, you need to refer to one of my other videos about the treating with copper fungicide. But anyway, if your spear is good and green, that's a good sign. That's the main point of health in your palm, and that's where you want to start to look for palm problems. And from there, you're going to want to go out and look at some of the newest fronds. And so you're going to want to look at the newest fronds that have come out, and you're going to want to see if they're green and healthy. And you see this frond here, it's a newer frond that's come out. It's doesn't have any problems. So as long as the spear and your next fewest fronds are good and healthy, you're in good shape with your palm. That means it's unlikely to have any serious problems. If you're worried about your palm growing, you can take a Sharpie marker and you take the newest spear and you just make a line across here toward the bottom, and one of the older fronds, you pull it up and you make a line at the same height right here, and you'll check that over a few days to a week and see if the palm is pushing up. If it's pushing up and growing, then you know your palm's okay again. But that's the easiest ways to check for that. And you're gonna look down here. A lot of people are concerned about their older fronds, and the older fronds are always gonna turn spotted, get brown tips, and start to die off. And all this on a palm like this is normal. That's nothing unusual. So you're gonna wait until these fronds turn completely black if you wanna keep your palm growing healthy, and then you gotta trim them off. But all this is entirely normal. On this particular palm, it went through I think about 12 degrees, and so it had a little bit of cold damage. So if you went through a cold, you could have some damage to your palm, like these little spots here are cold damage that's starting to appear on the fronds. So then we'll talk about some of the nutrient deficiencies of your palm. We'll list a few of those. The first one is a nitrogen deficiency. If you have a nitrogen deficiency, your older fronds, instead of like these, they're kind of the real oldest ones, you can see that they're supposed to turn off. You'll have some of these fronds in here that turn kind of a yellow color. If you have this frond turning kind of uniformly yellow all the way around the palm and working its way up, you have a nitrogen deficiency. You shouldn't ever have that, because you should be fertilizing your palms. But that's kind of a symptom of that. Another thing that could be wrong with your palms, and you mainly want to look in your newer leaves, because that's what's telling you if you have a current deficiency or not, because these older fronds are not going to change, is you have something like these little spots right here, these little translucent spots that's some sort of potassium deficiency. And that could be just a thing where it's over the winter it wasn't taking up enough fertilizer, or you haven't fertilized it with a good palm fertilizer, or that sort of thing. But that's again got to be cured with a good quality palm fertilizer. So it's not anything generally to worry about. There are some special fertilizers if you have only this problem on your palms, like Sulfamag, which has potassium and magnesium in the fertilizer. But generally it's best just to go back with a general purpose palm fertilizer. Magnesium, that's usually not too big a problem if you're using your palm fertilizer. So we're not going to talk a whole lot about that. One thing we can talk about is if you have a small palm and you put too much fertilizer, it could cause these brown tips like this, especially on your newer fronds. If you start seeing the brown tips a lot on your newer fronds, you need to start thinking about, did I put too much fertilizer on my palm? Am I kind of burning it? Especially if it's a smaller palm that can't handle a lot of fertilizer. And so you need to go back and make sure you're using something that has a little bit of slow release nitrogen in it. The nitrogen is what's going to burn your palm. And so look back at our fertilizer video. The two things I'm recommend mainly is Palm Gain or the Osmocote Outdoor for your palms. If you're in Florida or somewhere, you can use something like Florican, which is a slow release fertilizer as well. But this channel is mainly for us people up in the colder areas, and you can't really get that here. So your watering is important. The windmill palms are like a lot of water, and so if you aren't watering them well, they won't be happy, and you'll start either seeing the older fronds die off earlier, or sometimes you'll see these leaves folding up and that sort of thing. These leaves kind of, when they get underwater, they'll tend to do this kind of curling up type thing where they go like this. But windmill palms, especially during the summer, can take a lot of water. If it's in the ground, you're unlikely to be able to overwater this palm. If it's in a pot, it's probably another story. But generally these are very easy to take care of palms. Most other problems like manganese and boron are very rare, or should be handled by your palm fertilizer. That's one reason you want to make sure you have a quality palm fertilizer, is you want to make sure that it contains these essential micronutrients like magnesium, iron, boron, that some fertilizers have but don't have in higher quantities like the palms require. And so it gives you an idea. We'll go down here. If you are worried about the brown tips on your palm, you can get a pair of these little shears like this, and you can just go along here and cut the brown tips off. That won't hurt anything. That way it'll dress your palm up a little bit more. And you can do this a little faster if you're not having to hold a phone. You can just kind of push all the fronds together and cut off the end, kind of like hold them all together. And like we were saying earlier in the video, just to clarify a little bit more, you really don't want to ever cut fronds. If you do want to cut some green fronds off your palm, don't cut fronds that are hanging higher than horizontal. So if it's horizontal like this, or higher, you don't want to cut it, but if it's hanging down lower, you could cut it if you really wanted to. But it's advised not to cut anything unless they're completely black. The whole frond and the petiole, all this will turn black. Then you can trim those off. It's the best way if you want your palm to grow. But that's a couple more quick tips. Going back to the marking one more time. You just take a marker like this, mark your spear, and come out here, and that's the same height. Mark one of your older fronds. If you get those about the same height, then you'll know when that spear grows. So I hope that gives you a couple more tips on your palms, and we'll talk to you later.